Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, hope you are fine. Today I am going to brief you regarding hyperthyroidism. It is a common endocrine disorder we see and face in clinical practice. Now few words regarding anatomy of thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped endocrine gland that is normally located in the lower front of neck. Its job is to make thyroid hormones, which are secreted into the blood and then carried out to every tissue in the body. It is a highly vascular organ located anteriorly and it extends from C5 vertebra to T1 thoracic vertebra. The gland consists of two lobes, right and left. They are connected by median isthmus and it overlies the second to fourth tracheal ring. Actions of thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone increases the basal metabolic rate and the rate of oxygen consumption under basal condition or under activity by stimulating the use of cellular oxygen to produce ATP. It also stimulates synthesis of additional sodium-potassium pumps. It is also helpful in the regulation of metabolism. The thyroid hormone stimulates protein synthesis and also increase the use of glucose and fatty acid for ATP production. Thyroid hormone enhance some action of the catecholamine and they increase and upregulate the beta receptors. Hyperthyroidism and thyrotoxicosis are terms used interchangeably. However, each refers to the slightly different conditions. Hyperthyroidism, it refers to the overactivity of the thyroid gland. The problems lie in the thyroid gland. There is increased synthesis and release of thyroid hormones due to different pathologies, with resultant excessive secretion of thyroid hormones and accelerated metabolism in the periphery. This picture represents the difference between the healthy and hyperthyroid thyroid gland. The healthy thyroid gland is like that, while in hyperthyroidism it may be due to the diffuse enlargement of the thyroid gland, which usually occurs to the Graves' disease, or due to goiter. The goiter may be nodular or multinodular goiter. It results in bulging of eyes, tearing of the eyes and other eye symptoms, and usually these symptoms are due to overactivity and due to beta stimulation and catecholamine release. On the other hand, thyrotoxicosis refers to the physiological effect or clinical syndrome of hypermetabolism that results from excessive circulating levels of T3, T4 or both. This slide will differentiate between the causes of hyperthyroidism and thyrotoxicosis. Hyperthyroidism, as I already mentioned, is due to results of increased thyroid hormone synthesis within the thyroid gland. And most important cause is Graves' disease. This is a diffuse enlargement of the thyroid gland and usually underlying cause is autoimmune. It is associated with other autoimmune disorders. Then toxic nodular goiter. It is also known as Plummer's disease. Toxic adenoma, when only single adenoma is present, and sometimes George-Best-Ross disease. While on the other hand, thyrotoxicosis usually result from the excessive action of thyroid hormones on tissue, and thyroid hormones is not synthesized within the thyroid gland. It may be due to ectopic functioning thyroid, stoma ovari, metastatic follicular carcinoma, trophoblastic tumors, postpartum thyroiditis, and subacute thyroiditis, where increased synthesis of thyroid hormone is not there, but preformed thyroid hormones are released due to inflammation and infection. And thyrotoxicosis factitia, in which the usually patient take thyroxine from outside. This slide also showing the most important causes of hyperthyroidism, at Graves' disease, thyroid nodule, multinodular goiter. Graves' disease, thyroid nodule and multinodular goiter are most common causes of hyperthyroidism. Pathophysiology. Hyperthyroidism results by loss of normal regulatory control of thyroid hormone secretion. The action of thyroid hormone on the body is stimulatory and hypermetabolism results. It results in increased sympathetic nervous system activity, alteration in secretion and metabolism of hypothalamus pituitary and gonadal hormones. Excessive amount of thyroid hormone stimulate the cardiac system and increase the adrenergic receptor, mostly beta. Tachycardia and increased cardiac output, stroke volume and peripheral blood flow increases. There is negative nitrogenous balance, lipid depletion and the resultant state of nutritional deficiency. And the end result is hyperthyroidism with weight loss, anorexia, palpitation and other manifestations. Clinical manifestations of hyperthyroidism. Symptoms and their severity depends on the duration and extent of the thyroid hormone excess and the age of the individual. Individuals may experience nervousness and irritability, palpitations and tachycardia, heat intolerance or increased sweating, tremors, weight loss, increase in appetite, frequent bowel movements or diarrhea, lower leg swelling. There may be incidence of severe paralysis, shortness of breath with exertion, decreased menstrual flow, oligomenorrhea, impaired fertility, and sleep disturbances, mostly insomnia. This is also pictorial representation of hyperthyroidism. There is intolerance to heat, patients love fan and cold weather. There is bulging of eyes, facial flushing, enlarged thyroid, tachycardia, increased systolic blood pressure. There may be gynecomastia, there may be weight loss, there may be muscle wasting and myopathies, localized edema may be there. Menstrual changes may occur leading to amenorrhea in females and infertility, tremors, diarrhea and finger clubbing known as thyroid acropathy is also present in many patients. This slide showing thyroid acropathy. Usually clubbing may be there, onycholysis, fungal infections and swelling of the distal ends of the fingers and sometimes associated with generalized edema of the hand. This slide again showing thyroid acropathy, clubbing, distal swelling and some edematous changes in the fingers. X-ray showing also soft tissue swelling and some bone changes. Osteolysis is also present in the X-ray. This slide showing pretibial mixed edema, which is an important and pathognomic sign of Graves' disease, which is usually autoimmune in origin. Important signs are present in eye as well. There may be change in vision, photophobia or light sensitivity, eye irritation with excess tears. There may be diplopia. There may be exophthalmos or forward protrusion of the eyeball. There may be fatigue and muscle weakness, thyroid enlargement, pretibial mixed edema, fluid filled in the tissues above the shin bone may be seen with Graves' disease. Usually these findings are present in patients with underlying etiology with Graves' disease. Investigations. History and physical examination will guide and help towards diagnosis, but different investigations are also required for confirmation of diagnosis. Ophthalmic examination will help in diagnosis as well. ECG may show rhythm disorders like atrial tachycardias. Thyroid function tests including thyroid stimulating hormones T3 and T4. Sometimes thyroid releasing hormone stimulation tests may be required. Radioactive iodine uptake is very important. It will differentiate the cause of hyperthyroidism, whether it is due to Graves' disease or due to nodular enlargement or due to multinodular etiology. Test of thyroid function known as thyroid function test. Serum thyroid stimulating hormone. The normal range is 0.5 to 5 units per ml. Serum TSH levels reflect the ability of NGA pituitary to detect free T4 levels. Small changes in free T4 lead to a large shift in TSH levels and they are inversely related. Total T4 reference range is from 55 to 150 nanomole per liter and T3 reference stage is 1.5 to 3.5 nanomole per liter. Free T4 reference range is 12 to 28 picomole per liter and free T3 ranges from 3 to 9 picomole per liter. Then other important tests are antibodies tests. They are very important, especially in etiology of Graves' disease. Thyroid antibodies include anti-thyroglobulin antibodies, anti-microsomal antibodies, and anti-TPO antibodies. And in case of the Graves' disease, thyroid stimulating immunoglobulins are also important. Important diagnostic tests for the Graves' disease. Suppress TSH with or without an elevated free T4 or T3. If TSH is suppressed without an elevated free T4 or T3, it is known as subclinical hyperthyroidism. And if TSH is suppressed with an elevated free T4 or T3, it is a frank case of hyperthyroidism. In the absence of eye findings and radioactive iodine 1,2,3 uptake scan should be performed. An elevated uptake with a diffusely enlarged gland confirms the diagnosis of Graves' disease. It helps differentiate it from other causes of hyperthyroidism. In Graves' disease, there is diffuse enlargement of the gland and uptake is diffuse, while in case of multinodular goiter, there is increased uptake and it is in multinodular form. While in case of the nodular simple adenoma, there will be only a solitary lesion. Anti-thyroglobulin antibodies and anti-TPO antibodies are elevated in up to 75% of the patients, while TRAP or thyroid stimulating antibodies are diagnostic of Graves' disease and are increased in 90% of the patients. A radioactive iodine uptake test uses a radioactive tracer, usually radioactive iodine 131 or 123, and a special probe to measure how much tracer and thyroid gland absorb from the blood. This is the representation of different etiologies and causes of hyperthyroidism. In Graves, there is diffuse uptake, while this is a case of multinodular goiter, different areas of increased uptake, and this is a case of toxic adenoma, where only one nodule is present and causing hyperthyroidism. Now, management of hyperthyroidism. The overall goal in treatment of hyperthyroidism is to block the adverse effects of thyroid hormones and also to stop their oversecretion. It is achieved by drug and surgery. The most common drugs used are propylthiouracil and methimazole. It inhibits the synthesis of thyroid hormones and it also blocks the conversion of free T4 to T3. The most common antithyroid drugs are numercazole and PTU, propylthiouracil. PTU, propylthiouracil, is safe in pregnancy and during lactation. Indications for antithyroid drugs are patients with high likelihood of remission, in elderly or others with comorbidities, increasing surgical risk or with limited life expectancy. Moderate to severe active Graves' ophthalmopathy. They should be started soon after radioactive iodine therapy for 6 to 12 weeks. Another important group of drugs which is responsible for control of symptoms of hyperthyroidism are beta-adrenergic blockers. Mostly propranolol with the name of Inderal is used, but in patients where asthma and respiratory sensitivity disorders are there, we can choose cardioselective beta blockers. They inhibit adrenergic effects and also helpful in controlling symptoms like palpitations, sweating and tremors. Indications for use of beta blockers are they are required for prompt control of symptoms, for the treatment of thyroiditis. They are first-line therapy before surgery, radioactive iodine and control of symptoms before antithyroid drugs. Another important modality of treatment is radioactive iodine. Radioactive iodine therapy, it concentrates in the thyroid gland and destroys thyroid tissue. High cure rates with single dose treatment, mostly 80%. It is the first line of treatment in America according to American Thyroid Association guidelines, and it is also treatment of choice for Graves' disease, multinodular goiter, toxic nodules in patients older than 40 years, and also treatment of choice in recurrent thyrotoxicosis when other treatments are not successful. Radioactive iodine is taken by mouth in form of capsule or powder mixed with juice, and it is absorbed by thyroid gland where it causes the gland to shrink and symptoms to subside. It usually takes 3 to 6 months, and it can be repeated after 6 months. Radioactive iodine therapy is most often used in older patients with small or moderate sized goiter, those who have relapsed after medical or surgical therapy. Contraindications are absolute and relative. Absolute contraindications are in the women who are pregnant or breastfeeding. Relative contraindications are young patients, especially children and elderly patients, those with thyroid nodules, and those with ophthalmopathy. Surgical treatment is an option in the patient when there is relapse with the antithyroid medication, or in the patients when hypersensitivity reaction to the antithyroid medications present, or when the radioactive iodine is contraindicated. The choice of procedure depends on the two main factors. The first is the type and extent of the thyroid disease present. The second is the anatomy of the thyroid gland itself. The most commonly performed procedures include lobectomy, lobectomy with hysterectomy, subtotal thyroidectomy, and total thyroidectomy. Surgical treatment is reserved for the patient's preference, pregnant women who cannot tolerate antithyroid drugs, and also in pregnancy radioactive iodine is contraindicated, and sometimes surgery is required. If surgery is required, it should be done in the second trimester of pregnancy. In the child or adolescent and intolerant patients, sometimes surgery is also done. Various surgical procedures are done depending upon the type of disease and extent of disease. Thyroid lobectomy, in which lobe and small portion of isthmus is removed. Subtotal thyroidectomy, in which a rim of 2 to 3 mm thyroid tissue is left behind the posterior capsule, and total thyroidectomy, in which whole thyroid gland is removed and replaced with thyroxine. Thank you so much for your kind and patient listening.